Okay, let's kick things off. Picture this. Nepal, maybe not the first country you think of for global sports wins, suddenly has a team finishing second in a world championship. And they're bringing home like hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're not talking football here, we're talking esports. So yeah, this deep dive is all about that incredible story how gaming in Nepal went from a hobby in, smoky cyber cafes to a real business, global recognition, even a source of national pride. It's quite a journey. We've gone through a whole lot of articles, discussions, research, basically trying to piece together how this happened, what's going on right now, and what the big hurdles and maybe the big opportunities are. Our mission today really is to walk you through that history, get a handle on the current scene, and try to see what the future might look like for Nepali esports. Let's jump in.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how fast it all grew, especially considering the headwinds they faced.
Yeah.
And you're right, it really did start small, those cyber cafes you mentioned.
Right. You can almost smell them. The click-clack of keyboards, maybe some dimly lit rooms, screens showing GTA, Counter-Strike, Dota 2, a classic scene. People paying, what, maybe 15 rupees an hour, the sources said, just to hang out and play.
That was the bedrock, the absolute starting point for the community. But then the big shift happened. Mobile phones. Suddenly, they were everywhere, much more affordable.
And internet access got better too, right?
Exactly. So gaming wasn't stuck in a cafe anymore. It wasn't tied to expensive PCs. It became portable, accessible. And that's when mobile games just exploded. Clash of Clans, Mini Militia, even Pokemon Go for a bit there.
And then around 2018, something else shifted. The sources really point to PUBG Mobile and Free Fire landing as being like revolutionary.
Totally. It wasn't just playing a game anymore. It was playing together. Huge teams, coordinating, strategizing in real time, dropping into famous spots like Pochinki, which everyone knew was just chaos.
Yeah. Total chaos zone.
And the live chat, the social side. It just scaled up mobile gaming massively. Millions got involved.
So you've got this huge player base emerging. What happens next? Does it start getting organized?
Yeah, that critical mass of players and viewers meant people started thinking, okay, how do we structure this? How do we compete formally?
Yeah.
And that's where you see the first steps towards, actual esports infrastructure in Nepal.
Right. So how did that begin? Who started organizing things?
Well, the Nepal Esports Association, NESA, actually popped up back in 2016. Their goal, we found, was basically to regulate esports, promote it, try to get it seen like any other mainstream sport.
So they were thinking quite early on about legitimacy.
Definitely. They started sending players to international events, running national tournaments, laying some groundwork.
And what about the players themselves? Were teams starting to form seriously?
Yes. Alongside NESA, you saw the first proper competitive groups, clans, teams, whatever you want to call them, like PN Crew. Roshan Shakya was mentioned as part of that. These guys were apparently active even before PUBG's global launch really hit.
So they were ready when the big games arrived.
Pretty much. Once games like PUBG Mobile took off globally, these teams were positioned to start competing professionally, seriously.
And did they make an impact quickly, regionally?
They did, surprisingly quickly. The first big breakthroughs weren't far off. In 2019, so just a year or so after PUBG Mobile really blew up, two Nepali clubs, Elementrix and Nepali Huni, they actually made it to the finals of the South Asian PMPL, the Pro League.
Wow. Okay, so that was a statement. Nepali teams belong here.
Exactly. It showed they could compete at that top regional level. Marked a new phase, really.
And then things really accelerated partly because of, well, the whole world changing.
Yeah, the lockdown. It played this huge, unexpected role. Suddenly, people had loads of free time. And what was accessible? Battle Royale games on their phones.
Right. Easy access. Lots of time.
So the player base boomed again, but crucially, so did the audience. People started watching streams, following tournaments online. A proper community solidified during that time.
And wasn't there a big shakeup in the South Asian scene around then, too? Something about India?
Yeah, that was significant. When India banned PUBG Mobile in mid-2020, that took out some of the region's biggest, most established teams from the official leagues.
Creating a gap, basically.
A big gap. And it seems Nepali teams were just ready and waiting to fill it. They really capitalized.
And who are the teams that emerged? What did the sources say about their success?
We started seeing names pop up consistently. Abrupt Slayers, DRS Gaming, Deadeyes, T2K, others too. And it wasn't just a flash in the pan. They were consistently winning or placing top in the South Asian Championships.
Like year after year?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like in 2020, Abrupt Slayers won, DRS was runner-up. Then DRS won a PMPL season in 2021. Then in 2022, you had Deadeyes, T2K, DRS, Skylight Gaming, all doing really well. Multiple Nepali teams were just dominating the region for a few years there.
That's incredible consistency. And that regional dominance eventually led to something even bigger, right? The
Yeah.
global stage.
Yep. Absolutely. That consistent success built towards this huge moment. In late 2022, DRS Gaming, they came second. Second place in the entire PUBG Mobile Global Championship, the PMGC, held in Indonesia.
Wow. Second in the world. What did that do for the scene back home?
Huge impact. Financially, it brought in the biggest prize money ever for a Nepali team. One report said around $100,000 just from that one tournament. But more than the money, it was the recognition, global recognition.
Suddenly, Nepal is a name in global esports.
Exactly. A top-tier contender in one of the biggest mobile esports on the planet.
You can't really overstate that, can you? These players, maybe once told off for gaming too much, are suddenly national heroes on a world stage.
Yeah, the narrative shifted. That prize money, the fame, just seeing it was possible. It inspired so many young people. It showed you could achieve something massive in esports even without, the kind of institutional support traditional sports might get.
And that success continued, right? We saw notes about DRS and T2K still placing well in 2023, DRS getting special invites to the Global Championship again.
Yeah, they remained competitive. Maybe not quite the same level of dominance as in 21-22, according to some later reports, but definitely still major players receiving direct invites to top events. It cemented this idea that esports wasn't just a fluke, it was potentially a real career, a real business in Nepal.
Okay, let's talk about that business side, because the global numbers are staggering. Gaming market, over $300 billion. Esports itself, over $1.3 billion. That's enormous.
It's a massive global industry, yeah. And Nepal, partly thanks to teams like DRS, is now visibly on that map.
And it's not just about international winnings flowing back in, right? There's money being generated within Nepal, too.
Definitely. That $100 K for DRS was huge, obviously. But one figure that really jumped out from the sources was an estimate that the Nepali esports community itself, largely grassroots, without major government funding, had distributed something like 250 million Nepali rupees in prize money across 45 local tournaments.
250 million NPR just within Nepal. Wow.
Yeah, it shows there's real economic activity happening organically. People are
Yeah.
investing, competing for local prize pools.
So are companies starting to sponsor teams properly now?
It seems so. DRS, after their big win, picked up sponsors like Gyapu.com, Max Tiger, The Jungle, proper brands getting involved. And reports suggest these top teams are now providing salaries, boot camps, proper facilities for their players.
And there are knock-on effects for other industries, too.
Oh, for sure. Think about it. You need good gear, high-end phones for mobile, powerful PCs for other games. That boosts electronic sales. You need fast, reliable internet that's good for ISPs. It creates this wider ripple effect.
Plus the whole streaming phenomenon. That's like a parallel economy almost.
It's huge. Gamers building massive audiences, earning income just by playing games and being entertaining on YouTube, Facebook.
And Nepal has some seriously big streamers, right?
Oh yeah, the numbers are crazy. You've got 4K Gaming Nepal or Putin with over 1 million subs, Gaming Laka over 9 million, 2B Gamer Sandesh Tamang over 5 million, and then Tonde Gamer, 16 million subscribers. A lot from India apparently, but still based in Nepal, building this massive brand.
16 million. That's incredible.
It really is. And these aren't just numbers. It's influence, income. We saw one report mentioning CR7HRR earning enough to buy a house through streaming and YouTube. These guys are making real money, building careers, and honestly, they're bringing Nepali gaming to internationalize too. They inspire others.
Okay, so fast forward to now, early 2025. We've got this scene with amazing achievements, a growing business side, but also some serious challenges still.
That's the picture, yeah. Loads of activity. Like we saw reports about 2 big championships recently. ESAN, the Esports Association of Nepal, ran their second national championship in February 2025. Big venue, Jasar Thrangashala.
The national stadium. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a statement.
Right, 3 days. Prize pool bumped up to 25 lakh rupees. And importantly, they included PC games Valorant, Dota 2, alongside the big mobile ones like PUBG Mobile, Mobile Legends, eFootball. Samsung even partnered for the eFootball part. They had cosplay, music, a proper event.
And there was another one soon after, from Nessa.
Yeah, in May 2025, NESA held their 5th Nepal Esports Championship. This one was explicitly framed as the selection tournament for the big World Esports Championship later in the year.
Ah, so qualifying event.
Exactly. 6 main games, including CS2 this time, and notably a specific women's division for Mobile Legends. The reports said the preliminary rounds for that were just wrapping up. So yeah, multiple organizations running significant tournaments. Activity is high.
The challenges, what are the big ones the sources kept bringing up?
The number one issue, consistently mentioned, is the lack of formal government recognition. Unlike, say, the Football Association, which falls under the Ministry of Youth and Sports, esports bodies often just register as regular companies.
And that lack of official status,
Uh-huh.
it leads to less support.
That seems to be the connection, yeah. We read about persistent problems like internet bandwidth not being good enough for top-level play,
Yeah.
no dedicated game servers hosted in Nepal, which affects the ping and latency, just a general feeling of no real government backing, no encouragement, no dedicated agency looking out for the sector.
Which is pretty different from how some other countries approach it.
Massively different.
Yeah.
We saw the comparison with China, where apparently over 30 universities have been offering esports degree programs since way back in 2016. It's just a different level of institutional buy-in.
And this lack of support structure,
Yeah,
it must put Nepali players at a disadvantage internationally.
absolutely. Think about it. Players elsewhere might have dedicated coaches, analysts, managers, structured training routines, reliable salaries, maybe even nutritionists, physios, sports psychologists, the whole package.
Right, a professional setup.
Whereas in Nepal, players are often juggling practice with studies, family duties, maybe even another job, just to make ends meet. It's an uphill battle to compete against fully supported pros when you're dealing with all that.
And the physical and mental side, too, that's tough to manage alone.
Yeah, that came up too. Things like wrist strain, eye problems, burnout, messed up sleep schedules, performance anxiety. These are real issues in pro gaming. Without proper support systems, physios, mental health professionals who understand esports players in Nepal are often left to just cope on their own.
And finally, there was a point about the games themselves, a kind of dependency.
Yeah, a potential risk mentioned was the scene's heavy reliance on those mega successful mobile titles, primarily PUBG Mobile and Free Fire. They brought the initial success, no doubt. But getting similar traction, similar international wins in big PC games like Dota 2, CS2, Valorant, that's proving much harder.
Why is that harder? Just cost.
Cost is a big factor, yeah. High-end gaming PCs are expensive, and hardware prices in Nepal were noted as being inflated. It's a significant barrier to entry compared to just needing a good phone. So the risk is, if PUBG Mobile's popularity wanes or the meta shifts significantly, where does that leave the players whose careers are built entirely around it? We even saw some notes suggesting maybe Nepali teams weren't quite as dominant in South Asian PUBG Mobile in 2023-24 as they were in the peak years.
So, okay, summing up. Despite all these hurdles, lack of government support, resource issues, the Nepali esports community has achieved incredible things. They've inspired people, created jobs, put Nepal on the global map.
It's genuinely remarkable. The potential seems enormous. Some sources use phrases like, it could be a huge fortune for Nepal if it got the right guidance, infrastructure, exposure.
Like that comparison to China potential for massive revenue growth if supported properly.
Exactly. It highlights just how much opportunity might be there.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? What these players, these teams, the whole community have managed to build pretty much on their own dime through sheer talent and hard work.
The dedication is undeniable. They fought for every success.
Totally. So the final thought maybe is this. If this is what Nepali esports achieved without formal government recognition, without major systemic support, just imagine what could be possible if that support actually came through. Where could they go then? Leaves you wondering.